It goes without saying at the start of this video there will be some massive spoilers for the Bad Batch Season 3 premiere. Oh boy, such an exciting one today. We're going to be talking about references, Easter eggs, and other tidbits with a focus on Episode 2, Paths Unknown. We will also be touching upon Episode 3, Shadows of Tantiss, some more Palpatine theories, and did you know, Lucasfilm keeps alluding to Boba Fett. Is he going to finally meet his sister in Season 3? In the brand new poster, Omega is seen sporting a very similar blaster to Boba's carbine rifle from the original trilogy, and there was another reference a lot of folks missed in Episode 2. We're gonna come onto that later in the video, but today is really for smaller references, Easter eggs, that I wanted to save for a separate video, which is this. But if you want my more linear, traditional full episode breakdown and review, that video is out now and has been since Wednesday. But no more jibber jabber, let's begin. Despite the tidbits that Daniel Logan voiced the young clone Mox, our first reference is a very fun callback to the video game Jedi Fallen Order. When Hunter and Wrecker arrive on the forest world which the Duran family directed them to, the former base of Hemlock's operations before he moved to Mount Tantiss, Wrecker notes the planet smells like, quote, rancid Jotaz, but it's a clever little throwaway line that means something more for those fans who did play the games. It was so much more than just a vague illusion, like the Quactor calling the Stifling slimy, or something like that. The Jotaz, for those who didn't play the games, were a type of highly aggressive predator found in the mountains on the planet of Zepho. They were a tough opponent to defeat as Cal Kestis. Now you know what, that's being a bit too nice. They were an absolute bitch. Known for being strong but slow, they would establish brute strength, the forceful blows and impressive reach of their long forearms made up for their lack of speed, and they were strong enough to rip a person in two or tear their arms from their sockets. Our next callback came in the form of Slither vines, which proved to be a challenging pest for our two Batchers. They were experimental bioweapons that Dr. Hemlock had been working on. These creatures were kind of similar to the way that Ratars attacked. Those were the ones introduced in The Force Awakens, wrapping people up and eating them where they can. Slither vines are giant plant monsters. So you're probably wondering, well, why is this a reference or a callback? Because they seem very similar to a creature that existed centuries prior in the High Republic, the Drengir. Introduced in Phase 1, they were a species of predatory plants like this, but they were endowed with intelligence and capable of affecting Force users in very specific ways. Although the Force sensitivity thing doesn't apply to the Bad Batch directly, the resemblance between Slither vines and the Drengir is there, particularly with their central beaked mouth. This has certainly prompted speculation. Is Star Wars trying to introduce more aspects of the High Republic across various eras, even if we're centuries on? Perhaps these Slither vines are the result of Imperial experiments on the Drengir species, stripping them of their intelligence through breeding, cloning. While there is no evidence linking the two species, or to suggest Slither vines are a direct descendant of the Drengir, similarities are certainly present, and Imperial experimentation suggests some kind of possible connection, showcasing the ever-increasing interconnectivity of the Star Wars universe. And the third and final reference I want to point out is how the final escape and dismantling and destruction of the massive Slither vine was visually very clearly inspired by Boba Fett destroying the SARLACC in his own show, The Book of Boba Fett. The Slither vine latched onto the Havoc Marauder in the same way the SARLACC latched onto Slave 1, and they destroyed it in the same way. But what do you guys think? In other Bad Batch news, StarWars.com posted their full episode guides, but one of the big things was an acknowledgement of the fact the Season 3 premiere is the first time in the entire series Crosshair says Omega's name. He tried to in Season 2 Episode 14, but he famously was cut off when Hemlock's toxic gas started to fill the room. And so moving on, my dear friends, in Episode 3, Shadows of Tantiss, we got our first glimpse into the Emperor's Vault. I spoke yesterday about Omega's connection to the M counts, how her DNA is the perfect template to house a high M count, but we didn't actually get to see what was in the vault, what was in the clone tanks. Hemlock opens one of them, and the Emperor looks inside. It is highly secure and secretive, and I believe by the end of the season, we will get the big reveal. It's more than just regular clone bodies. Hemlock informed his Emperor. As you can see, the specimens are well guarded to assure that they are viable for testing. However, with more time and additional resources, I am confident that we will have a successful M-count replication. Now, some fans aren't convinced that it's only Palpatine's blood being used. That is certainly one part of it, especially when it comes to the rise of Skywalker down the line. Some think that because he shares the fascination that his old master Plagueis had, when he killed him, he took a sample of his DNA. And this brings us on to a theory I've seen, that there might be someone else that connects to the Mandalorian. Grogu, years before he ends up on Avala 7, was on Tantiss. It seems unlikely, but given the tease from Ahmed Best that we might get a glimpse at Kelleran and where he takes Grogu after Order 66, there is a possibility that the reason the Imperial remnants knew about Grogu in the first place, years down the line, is because once Hemlock and Palpatine had access to him. This could be when his mind goes dark. With him being the same species as Yoda and Yaddle, this makes sense. They didn't know much about the species, but they did know their potential for a high midichlorian count, some of the highest of any other. And with Dr. Hemlock trying to transfer midichlorians to a new host, Grogu might be a valuable resource at this time. That could be another way the Bad Batch ties into Mando. The Emperor might have put Grogu into some kind of stasis tank to keep him alive. The other tanks in the vault could be failed clones that had too much M-count degradation. We assume it's the Emperor's blood that Hemlock is working on, but I guess time will tell. Some interesting food for thought. Next week's episode is titled A Different Approach, a singular episode, and it sounds like it's the one just before Asajj Ventress's return in week 3. A different approach could refer to many things. Hunter and Wrecker getting the help of Rex and Echo as they search the sector they have intel on. A different approach. It could also refer to, now that they know Omega is the perfect template, a different cloning approach on Mount Tantiss from the Empire. Some really exciting stuff to come. Please go and check out my full episode breakdown for more. And so on to some wider Star Wars news. We do have some very exciting news if you're a fan of The Phantom Menace. The 25th anniversary is this very year, the weekend of May 4th, the re-release in theatres, and now they've revealed they're making brand new stories that take place before, during, and after episode 1. This is going to take the form of comics. Now, unfortunately, this is not Dark Horse, which I've generally considered massively superior to the Marvel comics, but the description does give me a bit of hope, because it does sound as though we're getting a bit of insight into Shmi's psyche once Anakin goes off with Qui-Gon, Padme, and becomes a Jedi. So the stories that are brand new are called Dream of a Jedi, The Gift of a Tusken Raider, The Heart of a Gungan, which may provide some backstory to Jar Jar Binks, The Horror of a Hero, and The Ache of a Mother. Now Shmi's backstory, working and being owned by the Hutts, then Watto, has always been fascinating, because I wonder if the name Skywalker has connections in her past to the Chiss, maybe having been a navigator. There has been speculation for over 2 decades that Shmi herself had the Force, so hopefully these are good stories, and these brand new short tales take place within the context of The Phantom Menace's 25th. Another great update Star Wars fans had yesterday is that Star Wars Battlefront The Classic Collection is coming for modern consoles on March 14th for Nintendo Switch, PS4 and 5, Xbox Series X, and PC via Steam. While it's not an announcement for a new Battlefront like Battlefront 3, there is so much nostalgia attached to the classic games. A handful of previously console-exclusive extras are now included on all devices. But if you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.